I guess
Okay,
so.
we are rolling and recording.
So, Debbie, um, how has your understanding of e-portfolios evolved during the past year's work on the committee? How's it changed
Right.
and advanced?
I think I'd like to begin by saying how much I've enjoyed the committee, because at the table we bring such a variety of perspectives, needs, backgrounds, and information that in itself has helped me grow in my understanding of portfolios. I think I began the experience with my own background and understanding of portfolios, working with students, integrating learning, not knowing incredibly much about e-portfolios, but having a deep history of portfolios themselves, and really building from there. So I would say the variety of tools that are available, I've learned, the variety of perspectives and purposes have deepened. The literature has been incredibly useful for me.
So based on what you've learned, can you anticipate any critical success factor for our specific
Yeah.
institution-wide adoption of e-portfolios at Chico State?
Yes. Well, one observation that I would make, based on the literature, based on our initial conversations with various constituents on campus, is that the initiative has to be bottom up. That faculty have to believe in the intrinsic value of the tool to further student learning, and that's primary. And if that, in fact, is not the case, I'm not interested in the initiative itself. So while, as I mentioned earlier, I come with a belief in the value of e-portfolios, I think that our work needs to begin there campus-wide. And I would suggest that one approach to begin to build a shared understanding across campus is through the use of pilot pockets of programs where faculty who have the desire and the initiative and see the value for their students and their programs begin and provide examples for others who may then, take up the call, if you will.
They'll see that.
Yes.
They'll see that and
Yeah. Can I add one more thing about
yeah,
that, Kent?
absolutely.
So the question, sorry, because I think I'm going
So the
off here.
question was the critical success factors, things that really will
Okay,
make or break.
okay, so this is true. So I think critical to the success is the large campus conversation, followed by a ton of faculty development and support. Because, and I mean it on two levels, actually. So there's support for whatever the tool might be that's adopted, but there's also the professional development for faculty who may be hesitant to think beyond the scope of their excellent teaching and learning and students' needs to deepen students' understandings across courses and throughout their development as undergraduates. And that's not a criticism of faculty, please don't get me wrong at all. I think our faculty are the most committed teachers of students and champions of student learning. But because of that very factor, I believe that they focus deeply on their own teaching. So I think there's professional development at that level to broaden faculty valuing of interdisciplinary, integrated connections across programs for students. And then the second level, of course, is the technical support and ongoing community that would need to be developed as faculty who are interested begin to take up e-portfolios.
You're right. Those really are two different levels of support.
I think they are.
Types of support, and I can see both are needed. So we've onto a slightly different area. But,
Okay.
In the committee over the past year, we drew on information, we had readings, and we had presentations, and we had vendors, and we had all of these different kinds of things,
Right.
all this different work and,
Right.
and sources of information. Is there anything that stands out that was particularly helpful in clarifying your understanding? And also, is there anything more that you think we need to do as a committee?
Good question. So helpful for me was the time spent up front as a committee, really hashing through the definition of e-portfolios in general, and then our collective purpose in adoption. And through that process, we developed what has come to be called the three-legged stool of the purposes of e-portfolios. And for me, that becomes a touchstone, because it allowed us, I think, to search thoughtfully and mindfully about a tool that performed multiple functions. So obviously the integrated learning piece, the assessment component, as well as the showcase portfolio for career and beyond. And as I suggested, we had representatives who championed each leg,
Right.
but I think collectively we determined that all legs were necessary.
Great. So now, specifically in your area, with your colleagues, which are, you have quite a history of portfolios.
We do.
Probably more than almost any other area at Chico State. So how might they impact you and your work and your colleagues, immediate colleagues?
Well, I'm going to preface my remark by saying that, so we're a professional college, and we have oversight by accrediting bodies, which encourage and demand that we look at the scope and sequence of our programs beyond the perspective of individual courses. So we already have an external constraint that really demands integration.
Right.
And therefore, we have developed a number of assignments across several programs that are developmental progressions for students to reflect deeply on their growth as professionals. So for me, for me personally, as the director of the School of Education, overseeing multiple different programs and pathways, this is an exciting development, because it allows for us to bring in tools to really enhance the work that is already demanded of us. So I would give an example would be, so our teachers, our future teachers, need to think deeply about their philosophy of education. And they begin in foundational level courses where they write philosophies and reflect on their own experiences. And as they develop through each course in methodology, in practice, in curriculum, in historical, sociocultural foundations, they add to and revise and rethink their purposes and their beliefs. So, and in administration and leadership, the same is also true. So we already have huge opportunities for integrated learning. I think I'm also excited about the possibilities for assessment, not just for my own department, not just for my own college, but for campus use. Because when we move beyond the student learning level to think about how assessment data helps us to inform programs and continuously improve those programs, that's an additional component for me that ePortfolios allows for us, that I'm not sure the entire campus values at this point, but for me personally, I see assessment intimately linked to instruction and learning, and therefore ePortfolios would play a critical role. Sorry. Okay, done.